Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Small Projects, New Opportunities. This is our online event dedicated to Interreg Northwest Europe Call for Small-Scale Projects. I am very happy to spend the next hour and 15 minutes with you as we had over 1,000 registered participants. Thank you so much for your enthusiasm. With our speakers this afternoon, we will explore the call opportunity, map a small-scale project, and navigate the application process. Thank you also for all the questions that you've sent via the registration form. They've been very useful in preparing this event, but we want you to be active this afternoon as we will be taking questions live. We have Vinicius, who is in the back office of Slido selecting your question. Hello, Vinicius. And most importantly, I have with me on the set Rebecca, who will explain to you how this will all work. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi, Perrine. So we'll be using Slido this afternoon to answer questions and for you to ask questions. There will be a couple of polls, but mostly this will be used for your questions. So just to start it off, I hope you've all logged into Slido. The information should be on the screen. Has your organization benefited from Interreg Northwest Europe funding in 2014 and 2020? Yes or no? Answers are coming in. So far, there are more no's than yes. It's interesting to know, since we're interested in having newcomers, new project ideas. Still coming in. Okay. So there are more no's than yes. Still. Okay, that's nice. Okay, so the next question. Why are you interested in the call for small-scale projects? For here, just put in a word. Yes, okay. A lot of interesting words coming through. Fundraising, innovation, collaboration. These are words that we like to see. Education, energy, circular economy. There are some great, my screen just turned off. And there are some great words here. Hello from Cannes, hello. Okay, great. It's nice to see that collaboration is one of the biggest. Collaboration and cooperation are some of the most important words appearing on the screen.
Thank you very much, Rebecca, and it's good to see that you are already very active on Slido and getting used to the tool. After the video, we will explore the call opportunity with Alexandre. Welcome again, and for the next 20 minutes, we will explore the call opportunity with Alexandre. Hello, Alexandre.
Hello, Perrine.
So, Alexandre, you are head of unit at the Joint Secretariat for Development and Communication. So, as we've just seen, we have about 65% of newcomers this afternoon, which is very encouraging for our program. So, in this context, can you please present the key aspects of Interreg Northwest Europe in 2021-2027?
Yes, sure. Well, thank you, Perrine. I'm very pleased to be here. Yes, indeed, it's really nice and impressive to see that there are so many newcomers who are joining us today. It is, as Rebecca was mentioning, one of the objectives that we have for the small-scale project call. And I'd like to start, since we have a lot of newcomers, by reminding the broad framework of European territorial cooperation in which the Northwest Europe program fits. Because even if today we're going to be mostly talking about themes, about projects, about calls, about processes, it's really important for potential applicants to keep in mind what is the red thread of our program, which is that we are a cohesion policy instrument, a framework that enables to build and to strengthen cooperation between regions and cities, and to reduce territorial disparities. So then, why do we need to reduce territorial disparities specifically in the Northwest Europe area? Well, it's because Northwest Europe has been at the vanguard of industrialization and economic development for decades, if not centuries, but this came at a cost on the environment, on resources, on inequalities between different regions. And still today, substantial discrepancies exist between the different regions and cities of Northwest Europe. So based on that, or taking all of this into consideration, the overall goal of Northwest Europe program is to bring these regions and cities together to reduce the existing disparities by supporting a green, just, and smart transition in all the territories of Northwest Europe. So concretely, what does that mean for the Northwest Europe area? How does that translate into a program? Well, to start with the map, it's about bringing together 7 countries, Ireland, Belgium, the Netherlands, Luxembourg, parts of France, and parts of Germany, as well as Switzerland. So 2 differences with the previous program. One which is rather obvious as a consequence of the Brexit. The UK has informed us that it would not take part in the Interreg Northwest Europe program anymore. And also there's 6 new regions that have joined us in the north of Netherlands and in the north of Germany, reinforcing to that extent the, let's say, continental dimension and northern dimension of our program. Our budget is of approximately 310 million euros for this programming period, with a co-funding rate of up to 60%. This applies for the small-scale project call as it applies for the regular calls. And also, it's good to keep in mind the fact that we are not ring-fencing any budget within this 310 million euros. It would be very surprising to allocate everything, but we are mainly ready to fund any project which will help us to reach the program objectives. So moving on to the themes, we have, for the small-scale project, as for regular calls, the call will be open to the 5 programming priorities which have been decided by your member states. These take in consideration the specificities of the Northwest Europe program in terms of pressure on natural resources, CO2 emissions, and that's why out of the 5, we have 3 of them which are focusing on the green agenda. The 2 others on innovation, resilience, and inclusiveness. For these 5 priorities include specific objectives, 9 of them in total, and projects, small-scale projects, will need to select one of these specific objectives at the start of their application. And obviously, they will need to contribute to these specific objectives. So going into a bit more detail on these specific objectives and what we expect on each one of them, on the first one, climate and environment, we will be seeking to fund projects which will, on one side, enhance nature protection, biodiversity, and pollution reduction. So, for example, projects that improve or maintain green and blue infrastructure, or that will reduce air pollution, for example. And we will also look at climate adaptation and disaster risk prevention and resilience. So, for example, projects that will contribute to mitigating heat stress, flooding, or that will simply promote water management, sustainable water management. Then, on energy transition, we have 2 specific objectives here. We will tackle and fund projects on energy efficiency, which will contribute to reducing greenhouse gas emissions and the promotion of renewable energy. So here, for example, it'll be projects which contribute, for example, to improve the energy performance in the building sector, in the transport sector, or in the district heating sector, for example. It can also be to support projects that adapt and implement wind or solar power, the use of biomass, hydropower, or hydrogen technologies. Then priority 3, on circular economy, will fund projects promoting the transition to a circular and resource-efficient economy. So here, for example, projects that improve awareness and capacity levels of stakeholders in this area. Then moving on to the last 2 priorities on innovation, resilience, and inclusiveness. These are more or less new topics for this funding period. On priority 4, innovation and resilience, we'll fund projects that improve regional territorial resilience, and that manage to do this by increasing innovation capacities and private players of public and private players throughout NWE. So here, for example, it's about reducing regional disparities in the innovation capacity of regions, in their use of technologies, or in the deployment of digitalization. And then finally, priority 5, these are to a certain extent new topics in our program. We will support projects that enhance access to employment or to healthcare, especially for vulnerable groups. And we are also tackling 2 topics which have particularly suffered in the COVID period, culture and tourism, as a way to improve economic development, social inclusion, and innovation of all the different Northwest European areas. There. And just to finish on the overall presentation of the different program priorities, I want to insist on what the program is looking for across all priorities and projects. This will be developed a bit further, but really these are the 3 keywords that you need to keep in mind: territoriality, cooperation, and impact. So by territoriality, we mean that when you develop your project, your need has to be specific. The need identified has to be specific to the Northwest European territory, to some region and to some cities. And you will need to explain this specifically in your application form. We're also expecting that the solutions and approaches that the project is developing will be implemented and will be having an impact on these specific territories also. Then concerning cooperation, this means not only doing something at local level, being place-based and exchanging experiences, but also actually doing things together. So jointly designing, jointly developing, and jointly implementing these strategies, approaches, solutions that your project will be working on. And then finally, concerning the impact, we are obviously not a research program, and we are looking for projects that have strong results, that have a tangible impact on the ground, and that prepare for the uptake and rollout of the results that are achieved by the end of the project period.
All right, Alexandre, so you have told us which territory our program covers, which thematic priorities we are interested in, as well as what the program is looking for across all of the priorities. So in this framework, what would you say is the added value of having a call for small-scale projects?
Well, there's one main added value, and there's one main reason why we are organizing, why our program has wanted to organize a small-scale project call, is to make our program more accessible to a wide variety of stakeholders, because in the end, it is one of the objectives of our program to reach out to a diversity of type of stakeholders, and this in all the territories of Northwest Europe. So we're using the small-scale project call as a tool to reach this objective, because we've also noticed that for some organizations, and for a variety of reasons, it has been more challenging for them to participate in our program. In terms of type of stakeholders, we've noticed, for example, that public authorities, NGOs, associations have been less numerous in proportion than other types of stakeholders. So we are specifically in this call looking to attract these types of organizations. And then more generally, we also note that organizations which are unfamiliar with our program, that have never applied to Northwest Europe in the past, organizations that have relatively limited capacities, or that are just, for example, seeking results in a shorter time frame, they will have a tendency to find our program a bit more challenging or a bit more difficult to access. And all of this in a context, as I mentioned previously, where our program is tackling some new topics like culture, like tourism, like biodiversity, or climate adaptation, which means inevitably on these topics, the need to reach out to new organizations. So there. For all these reasons, we thought it was interesting and necessary to have a different type of call, which would broaden our reach out and facilitate the access to our program. And we're doing this for the 3 reasons that you can see here on the slide: allowing projects with reduced scope, size, and duration. We also think that the small-scale project call will help in proposing a simplified project application and implementation process. And finally, the small-scale project call also offers, for many projects, a stepping stone to go for a bigger, more ambitious project in one of our future regular calls. And last but not least, I would also add that the small-scale project can also be an opportunity to be a follow-up of a very successful project, either in the 5B period or maybe in the future when we organize other small-scale project call, it can be a follow-up of one of our successful 6B projects.
All right, so our number one objective is to make our program more accessible, Alexandre. Then who are we targeting?
So who are we targeting? Here we're getting in the details of this small-scale project call. Actually, it is not so different than a regular call. One of our characteristics of our program is that we are open to a wide range of organizations, and we will continue in the framework of this call. We want local, regional, national authorities, universities, public research, SMEs and business support organizations, as well as sectoral association NGOs. Because we believe that involving this variety of type of stakeholders, whether it's for a regular call or for a small-scale project, will enhance the impact of the projects on cities, on regions. However, involving a variety, or the quadruple helix as you see it here, is not an absolute obligation. Especially for small-scale projects where you have a reduced scope, size, and duration. The most important in the end is that you identify clearly the partners that are needed to reach your project objective and to bring these together. So on the one side, it is good to bring a wide variety of projects together because it'll enhance your impact. On the other hand, do what is good or what is needed for and to reach your project objectives. And then from an eligibility point of view of who can apply, we are in the same or similar framework as in our regular calls. We are looking for 3 partners from 3 different countries. At least 2 of them need to be from the Northwest Europe area, and organizations outside the Northwest Europe area can join if that is well justified, meaning if you are able to say or to explain that the competences from that partner outside the area could not be found in the Northwest Europe area. And then finally, the roles. We have 3 roles as for the regular calls. Lead partner, who will be drafting, submitting the application form, who needs to be a nonprofit or public organization. That is very important. And then project partners and associated organizations, which can also compose a small-scale project. But there again, and I think it'll be repeated by other speakers today, all of this has to be taken into good consideration the fact that we are in a small-scale project, reduced scope, size, and duration.
All right, so the call is open to all stakeholders, Alexandre, you said, with a specific encouragement for public authorities and not-for-profit organizations to apply. Thank you, Alexandre, for this framework. Rebecca, do we have any reactions to Alexandre's presentation?
Yeah, thank you. We have a lot of questions coming in, a lot of great questions coming in. You just answered this one, but we'll ask again. It's important to repeat the information. How many partner countries need to make up a consortium as a minimum for this call?
3 partners from 3 countries and at least 2 partners from the Northwest Europe area.
Okay. Next popular question, is there a budget limit for the project's application?
Yes, there is a budget limit. It's maximum 800,000 euros total eligible cost. But yeah, there is a limit. It's between 200,000 and 800,000 euros total eligible cost.
Great, thank you. I think we have time for another question, another couple questions. Is there any NWE regular informal facility for potential partners to meet and discuss thematic project ideas? Like a virtual monthly coffee shop?
Well, that's an interesting proposal, a virtual coffee shop. No, we don't have that exactly, but we do have an online community platform that we have reset specifically for this small-scale project call. And it's a place online where any potential applicant can register, can post their project idea, and even if they don't have a project idea, they can still register and just be there and make others aware that they are potentially interested in joining a project idea. So this is a very useful tool, and I really encourage all the applicants that are interested in joining a project idea for the small-scale project call to register on this online platform. Just go on our website. In the 2021-2027 program area of our website, you will immediately find this online platform, and you can register there.
Great, thanks. Another question. Can an organization submit or be partner in several small-scale projects?
I understand the question as one lead partner submitting many, 1, 2, or 3, or multiple, let's say, application forms. It's possible. They can also apply for a regular call and for a small-scale call at the same time. The only question I would raise is, do they have the capacity to manage the applications? Because there's a whole process. There is an application which has to be well thought, well built. It's not an easy task. And if ever things turn out perfectly and they are fully approved, they have the capacity to manage in parallel different projects.
We have another interesting question, switching to a different area. How is the funding rule for participants in Switzerland? Why don't they get direct funding from Interreg?
Well, Switzerland is, its status has not changed in comparison to the previous program. Swiss organizations can participate to NWE projects, but they're not entitled to ERDF funding. However, they may receive funding from the Swiss federal government to co-finance their share of the budget.
Can higher education organizations be lead partner?
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, there's one condition to be lead partner. The organization has to be public or not for profit, and that is the case of most higher education.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is the duration of a small-scale project?
The maximum duration that we propose is 18 months.
What is the thematic focus of this call?
The thematic focus is the thematic focus of the program. As I presented earlier, it's the 5 priorities. It's the 9 specific objectives. We are opening all the thematic areas that our member states have defined for this program to the small-scale project call.
Okay.
Thank you, Rebecca. And thank you very much, Alexandre.
Thank you.
So we have covered the why. We're doing a call for small-scale projects, and in just a moment, we're going to dive into the features of the call itself with Inge and Valentine just after the video.